Good morning. It is Sunday, the 22nd day of Teves. We continue the chapter 12 in Tanya, the chapter the Alter Rebbe talks about the Beinoni, the intermediate person, and we started explaining what is the intermediate. It is that person that is not a tzaddik, meaning he does not have full control over his emotions, over his animal soul. The animal soul still has place. And we explained that the difference between the Beinoni, the tzaddik, and the rasha, in general terms, a tzaddik, a righteous person, eliminated his evil, doesn't have any desires anymore, doesn't even contemplate. The rasha does contemplate to do, and sometimes he does, goes against the will of Hashem, whether it's in thought, speech, or action, many different levels of the rasha, of the wicked person. A Beinoni is one who is in full control when it comes to the garments of the soul, the thoughts, the speech, and the action. But he can have a desire to do something, but he pushes it right away. He pushes it away right away. And in yesterday's shir, which was Shabbos, the Alter Rebbe went on to explain how the Beinoni, which, by the way, every person is able to reach that level. Not that this is easy, but we are able to reach that level. So the Beinoni is able to overcome. By him, there is the concept of moyach shalit alalev. The intellect, the brain, controls the heart. And that is, we once mentioned the story with the Reb Moshe Meislish, which was a chassid from the Alter Rebbe. And he was speaking many languages. And during the war of Napoleon with Russia, the Alter Rebbe sided with Russia. And he prayed that Russia should win, Napoleon should lose. Because Napoleon, although he promised freedom, but he was against Hashem. And Alter Rebbe felt that this would be not a good thing for spiritually for the Jewish people. Maybe be helpful materially, temporarily, but not spiritually. Anyway, so Moshe Meislish went and he became a spy by the French army. And at one point, Napoleon went in and he realized that they were always surprised by the Russians. He realized that there must be a spy among them. So he walked over to Moshe Meislish and he said, and he accused him that you are a spy. And immediately he went over to check and he put his hand on his chest to see if his heart starts beating more faster, which would be proof that he's scared. That means that he's really the spy, but his heart continued to beat regularly. And that saved his life. And he asked him later, how was it possible for him not to be scared? And he said that this is Chassidus taught him how to control his emotions. That is moyach shalit alalev. The intellect can control the emotions. It's not easy, but when you practice day by day, when you want to do something, and before you do it, you don't just let yourself run wild and do whatever comes, whatever you feel like. But you think, what is the right thing to do? So you train yourself that what you do, you think, is that the right thing? And this is true when you're talking about thoughts, when you're talking about speaking, when you're talking about action. So even what to think, everything he was so used to on a daily basis to constantly control his thoughts, and that was how he was able to control his emotions. And when he was accused of being a spy by Napoleon right there in the middle of the war, his mind right away, he activated his moyach, his mind, and he said to himself, I cannot be scared now. And he was not scared because his mind told him not to be scared. Otherwise, that will be his end. So this is the Alter Rebbe is true. It's true by anyone. Not only talking about holy things. Any human being is God created us in that way that we have the ability, that mind over matter, brain, intellect over emotions. You're able to control your emotions. You're able to control certainly what to do. And that is what the Beinoni is doing. He's working on a daily basis like this. But then what happens when it comes to holy things, says the Alter Rebbe? Here it is much, much more powerful. That fact that the moyach, that the intellect should be control the emotions when it comes to holy matters, when it comes to kedusha, holiness. This is the yisrei na'oyer min ha'choshech. There is the benefit of the light over the darkness. Being that when you're talking about fighting the Yetzer Hara, you're fighting the darkness. So all you have to do is light, because the light is the real, true reality, reveals the true reality. So there, you have the help of Hashem, not just in a natural way that you're able to control the emotions, but it makes it much easier that when you're doing the right thing, when you're doing the things of Hashem, you're having the kedusha, you're having the holiness. This you have the yisro, the benefit of the light over the darkness. Because evil, anything which goes against the will of Hashem, is darkness, and the darkness is not real. And when you introduce the kedusha, you introduce the Torah, that is the real thing. And the Alter Rebbe continues now and says in today's share that although we said that this is the Beinoni, and in that sense, the Beinoni is almost like the tzaddik. He's almost like the tzaddik. But nevertheless, he's not like a tzaddik. Because no matter how much the Beinoni is so excited about Judaism, about godliness, about the davening, and as we said 2 days ago, that the Beinoni, but the davening, this is the time when he really gets recharged. Nevertheless, after davening, he can all come back again, because a Beinoni did not eliminate the evil altogether. So let's continue, look inside the way the Alter Rebbe explains this. There's the Alter Rebbe. Nevertheless, he is not deemed a tzaddik at all. Why not? Mipnei sheyisrei nazeh asher la'oir nefesh elekis ala choshech v'sichlus shel haklipe anitcha mimela. He says, for this dominance that the light of the divine soul has over the darkness and folly of the klipa, of the animal soul, which is automatically dispelled. As we said, this is the benefit of the light over the darkness. Anything which goes against the will of Hashem is folly, is foolishness, not real. It is darkness, but the holiness has the light over it. However, this only, by the Beinani only, is in control by the three garments. This is limited to the divine soul's aforementioned three garments. Only in thought, speech, and action does the divine soul of the Beinani dominate his animal soul. But the essence and core of the divine soul does not dominate the essence and core of the animal soul, deriving from the klipa, from the shell, the thing that opposes Hashem. So he says, he says, because in the Beinani, the essence and core of the animal soul originating in the Kalipa, which is lodged in his left part of the heart, remains undisturbed, not displaced by the divine soul. So no matter how much he is overpowering, overwhelming the other side, it doesn't mean that the animal soul was removed. The essence of the animal soul, which is in the left side of the heart, was not removed at all. It was only subdued during prayer. But after prayer, it can come back again. It says, because after prayer, when burning love of God is no longer in a revealed state in the right part of the heart, as it was during the prayer when the love glowed openly and was palpably felt there. Like we said earlier, by the Beinani during the time of davening, he does experience a palpable love to Hashem. And then he is on top. But after davening, that is gone. Rather, the love is after prayer only on the inside. His heart is inlaid with hidden love, meaning that love which is natural to the divine soul. As we'll explain further, this is the ahava mesoteres, the hidden love, that this is true by every Jew. Every Jew has this ahava mesoteres. But the Beinani, by him, that allows him, that hidden love allows him, it is concealed in there, but it's open enough that the Beinani is able now to act right. When it comes to speaking, when it comes to doing, when it comes to even thinking, actively thinking, that by the Beinani, this Ava Mesoteres helps him to do the right thing. But it doesn't mean that he doesn't have desires. And again, there's different levels of Beinanim. Some Beinanim can live a lifetime that are very, very holy, very spiritual, constantly learning, constantly studying. And it's rarely that the other side raises his ugly head, but however, by the other Beinanim, could be many different levels. People can fight constantly struggling. That's what the Rebbe continues. Then after prayer, when the love of God is no longer revealed in the heart of the Beinani, it is possible for the folly of the wicked fool, meaning the animal soul, to reveal itself in the left part of the heart. craving all physical matters of this world, whether permitted, a desire that is permitted, then what's the problem? But if it's permitted, then what's wrong with that? So we explained earlier that the desire to do something which is permitted, to eat a kosher piece of steak, but to eat it, for example, to eat it just for the sake of self lust, that you just because you desire this, you want to have it, that connects the person into the impurity because it's not about God. So that by the Beinani, he can raise up by the Beinani after davening, whether it's permitted, or ben beisu chas v'shalom, or whether prohibited, God forbid. Even something which is prohibited can also come up to the Beinani a desire to do it. As if he never prayed. That's how the other side, the evil, can come up after davening. However, it says by the Beinani, nevertheless, when it comes to have a thought of doing something bad, it's not a thought that he wants to really go ahead and do it. So he says he has a thought about it, but he's not contemplating in actuality to do something again, something which is forbidden. That's what he says. His craving is limited only in that the case of a craving for a prohibited matter, it doesn't enter his mind to transgress in actual practice, God forbid. But thoughts of sin, which are in certain respect, as explained in the previous chapter, more heinous than actual sin. And those so these thoughts of sin, they can manage to rise to his mind and to distract him from Torah and divine service. The thought comes up. For example, a person on Yom Kippur. On Yom Kippur, are you able to think that? Can you think on Yom Kippur that you want to go in and eat something? Yes. The person is fasting, is hungry. You think, oh, I would like to have a nice piece of steak, or whatever, a cup of water. But are you actually contemplating this? Probably not. You're not thinking now, okay, let me think, maybe I really should go. That's already the next step. That's taking the thought to the next step. So the first thought would be nice to have a glass of water now on Yom Kippur. That can come up to your mind, would be nice to have. I'm thirsty. By a tzaddik, that never enters his mind. A tzaddik is so connected with Hashem, intimately connected with God, that nothing which is against the will of Hashem will ever enter him. It's like very completely disgusting for him to do something which is not what Hashem wants. But the Beinani can come up, an idea, the thought can come up, but he pushes it right away. He doesn't have the actual thought of go ahead and do it. That's what Alter Rebbe concludes here. And he says, K'maymer Razal, the thoughts of doing things can be in certain